Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Catherine Walters, and I'm the Joy Coach. And I'm so delighted that you're here today because I have a very special guest. And on our summit, Stress Free You, that's exactly what these wonderful, amazing 22 experts that I've invited are helping you to choose, to take responsibility so you can have much more of a stress-free you life and be a stress-free you. For they are sharing their tools, techniques, and strategies that will help you to transform your stress and burnout and experience more peace and joy. And as I mentioned, my guest today is very special because she hails from London, England. And we're here to talk with Davina MacKail. Davina is a feng shui expert, and she's also a shamanic healer and teacher. She's a shamanic seer, an educator, a dream expert, and an energy healer, and just an overall wonderful healer. She's the author of 2 best-selling books. The first, The Dream Whisperer, and the second, Feng Shui Basics, and they're both published by Hay House. And I'm sure the folks in the UK know her and are very familiar with her because she's had many appearances on UK terrestrial TV. So, Davina, it is just such a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So, feng shui and stress. What comes to mind when I ask you about feng shui and stress? And we know it's about keeping order in our homes and our offices, but tell us more.
Well, I have to say it comes down to that real fundamental basic. It's a dirty word. I have to whisper it quietly.
Oh, okay. Whisper. I can't wait to hear it.
It's clutter. Clutter is the biggest stress perpetrator in many ways in terms of feng shui in our homes, because we are energetically connected to every single thing we do. And so it's really tough. It's like, if you think about that, if you look around your home right now, just look around your environment, and every single thing has a call on your attention. It may not be fully in your conscious, but it has got a call. It's energetically attached. So look around. How many balls and chains are you carrying behind you? That's what clutter feels like. It's metaphysically, it's stuck energy. It keeps us held back. It stops us achieving, and it makes us feel heavy, tired, overwhelmed, stressed, in effect. And if it's very, I think we have to be really clear, Catherine, in having a definition of what clutter actually is, because this really helps people. Sure. So clutter for me is anything you don't love, you don't use, or you don't need. Right? So if you use it every day, like the kettle or your juicer or whatever, great. That's not clutter. That's useful. If you love it, if it makes your heart sing, if it gives you joy, then absolutely keep it. And need, I think, needs qualification, because there's always that excuse of, it might come in useful one day, or I might need it one day. Need, as far as I'm concerned, is a legal requirement only, like you need your car insurance documents. That's need. You need to keep your tax receipts or whatever. Anything else is clutter. And the real definition is like, pick up an item, pick up every item in your home and go, does it make my heart sing? Does it bring me pleasure? Does it give me joy? Anything else is clutter. And we are in the age of consumerism. We've all been trained, conditioned to buy, because it keeps all the corporations happy and all the retailers happy. And so, unfortunately, we have an awful lot of clutter. We have an awful lot of balls and chains that we're carting around behind us. And this is what I see more and more. Feng Shui, for me, has really come down to something simple as clutter clearing. That is fundamental. Before you do any of the nuances of furniture placement, symbolism of artwork, plants in the right place, crystals in the right place, all the other wonderful feng shui house placement that we can look at, the clutter has to go. If you try and do a feng shui placement on top of clutter, you're going to create chaos. Clutter creates chaos, and it really stagnates our energy. In our bodies too, of course, we have clutter in our own bodies. I thoroughly recommend a good colon cleanse often.
Sure.
another form of clutter. Mental clutter. We have toxic friends. You know, that friend that you know on the end of the telephone, you've got on the phone and your energy just drops. You know who it's going to be before you even pick up the phone and your energy drops. And then, of course, you get off the phone and want 40 fags and a gin and tonic. That's clutter. We feel guilty, don't we? We feel obliged to like, oh, we can't be awful. We can't let go. But, you know, at what cost?
Right.
On a personal level in terms of our energy and many of these things. I mean, perhaps less so with friends, you know, it's a little bit more of a painful process, but certainly in letting go of clutter. And I think there's some number of things. I mean, for women, for example, I don't know if the majority of your audience are women, but women have a really big thing about clothes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Won't get rid of anything.
Exactly. And not only that, because of our fluctuating hormones, we tend to have clothes for thin days, fat days, and in between days. So there's a good range of clothes for all occasions and all possibilities in there as well. And that's another thing that we really need to be aware of. And my top tip for losing weight for women is accept yourself 100% for who and what you are right now and the size you are right now. So only have things in your wardrobe that fit you now and that you love, that make you feel good, not that looked good on another you, not that you hope to get into one day, or that you bought because you were having a hormonal mad moment and you thought that purple pink tutu was going to be a great idea, and now every time you look at it, it reminds you of, oh my God, what was I thinking and how much money did I spend? You know, the thing is, if you let go of that, it's momentary, right? You will forget about it 20 seconds after it's left your home, and it will never clutter up and stress your consciousness. But every time you see it in the wardrobe, your energy drops a little bit. You're a little bit stressed because it reminds you of, oh my God, look at the mistake I made. Look at the wrong thing I did.
Wow. Well, you know, that's a really important point, I think, because when we keep these reminders, like in our closet or wherever, of these like quote mistakes we made or how much money we spent, there goes our energy back onto that again. And it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating, which means we're losing energy for our life force that we could use in our present actions of like a decision we want to make. Instead, it's going back. We're giving our energy back to this thing that and beating ourselves up again as well, probably, because why did I do that, or what was I thinking, as you mentioned. And instead it's like that momentary thing of just get rid of it, and then you're free.
Yeah. And I think that clutter in terms of the home and feng shui extends to jobs that aren't done. So every time, for example, you come home, you flick the switch and the light doesn't go on because you forgot to change the light bulb. Again, it reduces your energy. It's a stress response. Oh, you know, you have that. Oh. Every time you do that, you lose a bit of life force. You lose a bit of energy. You know, when you haven't fixed something, so you keep tripping over the same mat or the same issue because you just, you know, fix these things. These little things build up and they cause, you know, this is what stress is. Stress is on every level, whether it's emotional stress, technological stress, clutter stress, all the different forms of stress that we currently have in our environments. It's the daily prod. I call it the finger poking. It's like if I poked you with a finger constantly like this, right, that would get extremely annoying very, very quickly. So it's not that they're big, it's the big life events, the big disastrous things in our life are not stressful. They're emergencies that we have the adrenaline, the fight-flight response to deal with, right? We're programmed to deal with the saber-toothed tiger, the big disaster that we can recover from. But we're not programmed to deal with these daily issues that constantly prod our energy field. And what that does ultimately is lowers our immune system, and that's what leads to disease. And that's what the stress does. So the stress is the constant poking, and it's very subtle, it's very tiny, it's the things we don't really notice or take account of. We think, oh, it's just clutter, that's not bothering us, but it is bothering you. Oh, that's just the light bulb, it's not affecting. Yes, it is affecting you.
Right.
And these are things that we really need to take care of. And if we can clean up our acts in terms of our physical environments in that way, then we really give a boost to our immune system, and then we find we have much more energy, much more resilience to the other issues in our lives, and are able to, and for me, our home is, as William Morris said, home is metaphor of the self. So our home environment very much reflects our external world and how we deal with things. So if we have a cluttered home, we have a cluttered mind, we have a cluttered life. And so if we can keep our home clear, and that becomes a sanctuary that nurtures us and nourishes us when we come home, and then that feeds us and gives us, as I say, the resilience to deal with other stresses that we may be, having to encounter.
And I love how you mentioned about it, it starts in the home. So if we create that decluttered, clear, clean home, then that's our sanctuary that can nurture us and fill us back up again. But again, that what a definition of stress, if that finger prodding, because it's exactly what it is. And you're so correct in that we're not programmed to deal with it. Yeah, the bees we can handle because we've got fight or flight, but this we don't. And so even our energetic system doesn't know what to do with this, because what we need to do, as you're saying, is come back to ourselves and declutter our whole being, because you even talked about the colon cleanse. So it's a physical level, but it's basically a clearing on all levels, yes?
Oh, without a doubt. I definitely think emotional, spiritual, physical, intellectual detox. I mean, it's like just even surrounding yourself with too many books. We need to sometimes have a shift out so that we can allow new knowledge, new ideas to come into our lives. We change our identity. We don't stay the same person. That's why it's good to clear out our wardrobes. Our external appearance, our clothes are very much part of our identity, or what our face is to the world. They need clearing out every now and again. All of it needs clearing out every now and again. I think it's a really marvelous, and remember, also, that physical objects, take on energy. That's why a lot of my work is about space clearing. So the Chinese call it predecessor qi. So, for example, you may see this in a high street, to give you what I'm talking about. So you'll see a business and it goes bankrupt. And then 6 months later, whatever business takes over that particular premises, it goes bankrupt. They have financial difficulties. You'll see the repeated history of it. And it's because it's got like a blueprint of bankruptcy. Walls really do have ears, as we have it in our language. They really do hear. So everything, because energy doesn't disappear, it simply changes form and it gets sucked into the environment. So until you space clear that, there's a blueprint of bankruptcy. So in our homes, we can have blueprints of anger imprints because we've argued with our family, blueprints of sickness, blueprints of debt and things like that. So again, the clutter clearing, the energetic clearing of our space through saging, through incense, through a good spring clean. I mean, one of my powerful top tips for anyone, I know you've asked for some real practical advice, and a really simple one. It's what I call the chi change. Daily chi change. And simply, you literally open all your doors and windows, back door, front door, and all the windows just for a couple of minutes, and let that change of air come through. That literally will change your atmosphere. It changes the chi. And that will give you a boost in energy. That might, you may have been sitting feeling slumped and unenergetic and just like, oh, I want to go to bed, I feel heavy, whatever. And just that can enliven you, and then you will find you will get on and do another task or just feel better because you've got some oxygen in your lungs. That is one of the just very simple, very good thing to do. Bringing houseplants in. Houseplants, NASA did a lot of research on this when they first sent astronauts into space, about how houseplants detoxify the atmosphere and can create fresh air and good energy vibes and soak up a lot of the techno pollution that we have in our homes. So they're fantastic items. I really encourage people to have plenty of houseplants in their home.
Awesome. So speaking of techno, because we wanted to, it's like, there's also a stress created by all of our technology. We were talking earlier before we got on the call, actually, about this like reaction that we have whenever we hear our cell phone ping or whatever. Can you talk about how that affects us and how that causes us stress?
I mean, this is obviously a very modern phenomenon, because 50 years ago, we didn't have any of this. I mean, it's a very short space of time. And as you know, evolution is a very slow process. So I'm sure in the centuries to come, humans will adapt to this instant response scenario. But we don't have that adaptation in process right now. We haven't evolved fast enough. I'm not quite sure the genetic formation of teenagers in the future, because they seem to be constantly like this, head down, around with the screen in front of
Exactly.
a pair of headphones on. I mean, I found it horrifying like during the summer this year. Sorry, I'm going off the point, but I will come back. But it was just like walking in the park in Hyde Park, one of the beautiful parks, glorious summer's day in London. And I looked around and there was not a single person in that park that did not have an electronic device glued in their ears or in front of their faces. And I'm like, wow, where is your connection to nature?
Yes.
So they're walking in the park because somewhere in there there's, oh, I need to walk in the park. That's a good thing for me to do. And yet we're totally disconnected to it because they've got some electronic device plugged in. I found that really quite extraordinary. And that's how bad it's got. And my senses really looking into this era of like this compulsion, as you say, to respond to it. And of course, we can't possibly respond to it all. That's massive stress in itself. I mean, you've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. I mean, there's so much to keep up with. It's ridiculous, emails. And there is this instantaneous aspect of it and everything. We no longer have the attention span. There's been lots of studies recently to have proved how this is affecting our brain capacity and our ability to retain information, to learn new things. And we are basically becoming more stupid because of technology.
True. It's true. We don't have to remember anything.
No. And also, we don't have to remember anything for very long.
Right.
Because it's all at our fingertips. We can just go and research it. But this compulsion to respond, it comes from, I think, a deeper conditioning. Most of us, if we can remember back to our school years, and this is where a lot of our conditioning comes from, or even with our parents, you know, we are conditioned into turning up as our good selves to avoid being punished, basically. So we all get socialized into correct behavior, to be the good girl, to be the good boy. And this compulsion to respond is part of that. There is a deeper habituated conditioning in there of like, maybe there's a punishment going to be, you know, invoked if I don't respond. Mm-hmm. Maybe if I don't get back to that person, something bad will happen to me. Of course it won't, but that's the programming. And we actually need to pause sometimes and think, do I really need to respond to that? You know, I'm having my tea, or I'm interacting with my children, or I'm talking to my family. You know, that's what's actually important. That immediate social interaction with another human being that's in my space here and now, not what somebody's just pinged me on Facebook or retweeted on Twitter. You know, great social media tools, marvelous for business, allows the small, you know, I'm not against it. I love technology. And for the entrepreneurs of which we are, right, and the small business owners, it's an absolute gift from God, isn't it? I mean, it allows us to communicate. Look, here we are using amazing technology to be able to communicate across oceans, thousands of
Exactly.
wow.
Oceans and the continent, because I'm in California. But I think that I want to stress one thing you just said, Davina, and that is that question that you asked, because this is a really important tip. Do I need to respond right now?
No. And it's the pause of, and one of the things, I think the really way to test this is, I believe in like good old Stephen Covey, one of the best books I think ever written, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mm-hmm. One of his things in there is always begin with the end in mind. So if we look at, that's just why, I mean, there's many things on the law of attraction and the visualization, but it's like, what's your goal? What's your ultimate goal for your life? What's the legacy you're leaving? What do you think your purpose is, your mission, etc., whatever you want to call it? And if you have a sense of that and you have an idea of that, then it's like you can also gauge, well, is responding, because we can get just too involved in the got to respond to everything. Mm-hmm. And what causes stress? Again, it's being prodded. You know, remember, we're not being responsible for this. We're being reactive to it. Someone's prodded us. We feel the need to respond. Do we really? We don't stop or pause to consider whether that response is actually necessary. It's like an automatic pilot. And then we get overwhelmed by this need, and this need almost breeds the need, so to speak. And then if you're not being poked, you feel withdrawal symptoms. It's like, oh, maybe nobody loves me anymore because nobody's poked me today. You know,
it's true. I crave those days of being poked. Exactly. And so it's this cyclical thing. It just goes around, like nobody loves me if I get very few emails or a few Facebook tweets, or Twitter tweets or whatever. And yet, or we get so many, then we're overwhelmed too. So it's just like it's feast or famine. We don't even know how to, and this is all prodding. It's all stress provoking.
Yeah. And we need to take our responsibility, our power back. And it's like, Nothing bad's going to happen if I don't respond. And so that we take, what it is for me is taking back choice.
Definitely.
We need to take back the responsibility so that we become response able rather than reactive, and we take our power of choice back, the choice to respond. It's like, does that take me towards my goal? Is that taking me towards my mission, for my purpose, for being here, for what I would love to achieve? And if not, leave it.
Right. Oh,
that's
that's
important. Right. You.
Right. And that I like that, taking that response able, like, do I have the choice to respond rather than reacting, and to see that with our technology, we don't have to immediately, it's like we're wired to react, and we don't have to, we can just respond when it's most appropriate for us.
And, we have to understand that not just the past programming of this kind of, social etiquette of being polite. Something might be bad if we're taught to be polite, aren't we? If someone says, "Oh, look how you were brought up as a child. Don't be rude. Say hello." He said hello to you. Shake his hand. So this is the same thing. So you need to respond.
Yes.
How rude you don't. So it's part of the politeness brigade, so to speak. I think we have to become more rude, basically, or not in a bad way, but just being able to withdraw. We don't have to be actively rude, but it's just like we have the right to choose.
Right. It's the right to set boundaries, so that like maybe we don't do all. It's not an immediate response, but maybe you set it within a framework in your day, so that you're not constantly responding to every ping of an email or text or something, but you set it aside for something later. Now, that may not, since it's used for emergencies, but also for many other things, that may be a little tricky with, there might need to be some signals within families, but, in the past, we didn't just automatically, you just saw the person and then you walk out the door and you're texting them. And it's like, we let it go. We're able to separate ourselves and just enjoy nature or whatever. So I guess that's where I want to jump in, is like, what are you've already given us some really, broad tools on what to do, and even just encouraged all of us to say, be responsible with what we're using and rather than reactive. But how would you recommend any other suggestions for people in reducing their stress?
Yeah, I mean, with this,
we've caught a lot of them.
Well, basically information overload, for want of a better word. I would really choose to set parameters. I would go really put your blinkers or your boundaries around, like, I'm only going to answer emails between 9 and 11, or I'm only going to look at my text once a day, and turn the notifications off. Because think about, look how we are programmed. These days, the algorithms are so powerful and becoming ever more powerful. And of course, sadly, whereas it could be put to good use for the world and solve a few major problems, but instead it's all put to consumerism. So you buy something on the internet, and now you know that every time you open a page, you're going to be pushed an advert on that or a related product. It's terrifying how clever they all are. And the trouble is, we're not particularly awake to that all the time. It's almost subliminal. It's in the background. We don't, unless you become conscious and think, my God, look at this. This is being pushed in my face. Right? We need to become much more aware of that. So my sense is, turn off all the notifications you can, so you choose when to turn them on.
I like that.
And take regular time out to go and breathe in nature. Even if it's just like one of the most powerful exercises that you can do that really de-stresses us. Like if you ever go on holiday and you walk down the beach and you take your shoes and socks off, you immediately feel that sense of,
exactly.
all tension drains out, because we've got the negative ions replacing the positive ions coming off the ocean, and we're connected to the natural electromagnetic field of the earth, which balances us with our own field of 7.83 hertz. So something very similar you can do is just go and take your shoes and socks off and stand on the earth, in your backyard, in your garden, in the local park. And you don't suck up the energy through the soles of your feet. You imagine your soles of your feet opening like mouths, and it's just like a sugar cube soaking up tea, or a sponge soaking up water. You just open that channel and just let the earth energies soak into you. You're not pulling it, you're not doing anything active, just for a few minutes of that. That is incredibly beneficial to the human body, just to actually realign itself with the natural electromagnetic field of the earth.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's easy to do. I mean, you can do it at any time. You know, you're out playing with your kids and have your kids take their shoes and socks off too and be barefooted just to stand in nature. And it's so simple. And I know people, we want these complicated things. I think it's the mind, the ego that wants these complicated solutions when really it's being out in just for a few minutes out in your yard or your garden or wherever and just being on the earth makes a huge difference, a huge change in perspective.
Our whole world has become so overly complicated and we are in information overload. So there's no real knowledge anymore.
True. Yeah.
It is just information. Verify. I mean, none of us knows what's truth anymore. It's impossible. You don't even know if a news story is true anymore. You don't know if anything's true anymore. That's how polluted in a way information and knowledge has become. So there's no wisdom anymore. And the only way that we have wisdom is inside ourselves, inside each one of us. And we need to be able to access that wisdom. And in order to access that truth, that real wisdom within us, you need to be quiet. You need to be connected to nature. You need to just breathe in and out. And remember to pause between the breaths. So it is simple, right? It is taking that moment of simplicity within the chaotic overload. That, for me, is the easiest, quickest, most effective way to reduce stress.
Oh, I love that. Can you, like that moment of simplicity. What was the rest of that? Oh, that was beautiful.
Don't ask me.
Okay, well, people are going to have to listen to that because it was just that. I think it was that moment of simplicity in our overcomplicated world it's the fastest way to reducing your stress.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah, it's going back to this simple, going back into our own inner wisdom that will calm us down. And your point about the information that we have around us being polluted, I don't think enough of us are consciously aware of that. So thank you for saying that, because we need to remember, we need to think, read a variety of things, not just one source, because we can't trust the accuracy of it. And of course, the real one is the inner guide inside. Oh, fabulous information, Davina. We could go on and on and on, but I would love for you to tell us about that really special free gift that you have so folks can stay connected with you and also just so you can share your work with them.
So what I would really love to share with everybody is I'm going to go to a very beautiful shamanic guided meditation that takes people into their inner garden. For me, the real power of intention is this, where we intend, i.e. tend to our inner garden. And that is where we can do an awful lot of de-stressing, decluttering, and really get into that place of hearing that inner wisdom. So that's my gift, to be able to share that journey, that people can just tune in and find their own inner wisdom.
Oh, and it's just beautiful because it's such a lovely voice. So it'll be so soothing and wonderful to listen to. So awesome. And I know, Davina, you're doing a really special project for Hay House right now that's going to come out in 2020.
That's very exciting.
I'm excited. I can't wait. So tell us.
I've been wanting to do an online course forever, and I've never quite got round to it because I have to say, I spend a lot of time in the forest, a lot of time communing with nature.
That's true. I had to wait a week because you were moving, but you were also something with the woods. And I'm like going, okay, whatever. Well, we can wait more than a week to talk to Davina MacKail. No problem.
So I'm afraid I have already decompressed from technology. It's great when it's there. But so anyway, so I'm doing this feng shui online course with Hay House, which I'm very excited about. That will be out sometime in 2017. So if people want to find out, I don't know the exact date it's being published, but Hay House will have it on their radar screen, and anybody could look at my website, davinamackail.com.
Oh, awesome. Oh, Davina, what a pleasure, what a joy. And you just have you talk about wisdom, but you embody wisdom, and what you shared with all of us today was just absolutely phenomenal. So thank you so much. Okay, we'll hold on a minute, but folks, wasn't she wonderful? Were we blessed? Thank you again for being here. Please just take one of the things that Davina shared, or let one of the ideas that she shared percolate inside of you so that you're on your way to being a stress-free you. And I'll look forward to seeing you again really soon. Namaste.